My guest in focus, Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Now, that was quite a wind-up because not everybody can hear all the questions that are being shouted, but we could clearly hear the response from the president. What was going on there, Ari?
Well, his communications team, Harris, is high-fiving each other. They like the fact that he tries to stay on message, that he didn't want to talk about Afghanistan, even though he did. But look, add it all up. Joe Biden is a Trojan horse with a script. His opening, everything he talked about was a progressive liberal spending spree that had nothing to do with COVID, nothing to do with jobs. It's just a liberal wish list come true. And I can tell you this, if Donald Duck were the president, you'd have the same job numbers you have because COVID's been defeated. That wasn't because of Joe Biden or his jobs plan. That's the inevitable result of Americans coming back to work. They're actually coming back to work slower because of the excess unemployment benefits that people are getting. So add it all up, the way he looked at his notes, the way he had it on the card, read from his script, he is a Trojan horse with a script. That's my summary.
Well, here's the problem for the media in that room, and they can say what they want to say about Fox News. But those reporters were not all from Fox News. They were all hungry for the truth in that moment, though, which might have been a refreshing difference for some and certainly a surprise for President Biden because we don't get his cards. So when he starts to look down and go from the card, we don't have that. And that's probably an excellent thing. Look, I want to ask you about really where he was, though, in the talk about jobs. I want to drill down to where the nation really is. He said, well, we've created 3 million jobs since January. That's an amazing, great thing. People aren't jumping to take them.
Yeah, but the reason jobs are being created is because COVID is over. Joe Biden didn't end COVID. The vaccines ended COVID. And if any credit is to be given, it was as a result of the previous administration, the Trump administration, that accelerated the production of these vaccines. And Joe Biden is the lucky beneficiary of that. So that's why it's inevitable. It's natural that people go back to work when the lockdowns end and when people feel safer because they're vaccinated. He takes credit, which is what all politicians do. They try to say it's all the result of their plan. And it never is. It's never 100% that. There may be a teeny tiny element of something. But that's what a typical politician does. That's what Joe Biden is doing. I am glad to see how reporters found their own voice a little bit and started to pepper him about Afghanistan and other topics. You know, that's the usual cat and mouse game between the White House press corps and administrations. They're still too soft, too friendly to Joe Biden, but at least they found their voice on other questions today.
Yeah. A start is a start is a start is a start, I suppose. Look real quickly about the jobs one more time. If you pay people, though, continue to pay those who are waiting, and it's only going to last till September. I mean, people are going to have to go and find a job because no matter what Biden says, that dole is not going to be there forever. Last quick thought on that.
Yeah, buried in the numbers today is what's called the labor force participation rate. It continues to be at an excessively low level, down in the 61% level. Typically, it's up to the 63, 64% level. The difference is massive. What it means is people aren't participating in looking for jobs. They're happy to stay at home, and they don't count as part of being unemployed because they're not looking for work. Why aren't they looking for work? They don't need to. In many cases, it's because they're getting their excessive unemployment benefit check, which in some states can be $40,000 a year, much of it, a portion of it tax-free, to stay at home and collect unemployment. That's the problem, Harris.
All right, Ari, let's get to this because, I mean, the White House is multitasking today. The White House trying now to protect Vice President Kamala Harris after those bombshell claims of an abusive work environment. A top Biden aide is calling it sabotage. A damaging Politico report on the infighting within her office with this headline: not a healthy environment. Kamala Harris's office rife with dissent. Quote, there is dysfunction inside the VP's office, aides and administration officials say, and it's emanating from the top. Senior White House advisor Cedric Richmond told Axios this: it's a whisper campaign designed to sabotage her. One person says something long enough and it becomes an urban legend. It doesn't have to be credible. Okay, so when you read the report, before this job, she was AG of California. I mean, she's been a senator. There were 22 people along the way, including those who are currently with her. That's not one person spreading a gossip word, Ari. What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I guess whisper campaign is the Biden word for fake news. So, chalk that up. But, look, anytime I read a story that has just anonymous sources, my reaction is I'm just going to wait to see if it comes true. Maybe it's true.
There you go.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. But that was my standard for reading stories about Donald Trump, where I always thought it was unfair that they quote all these anonymous people. And I'm going to adhere to that standard in the Biden administration. Now, look, is it true? We don't know. I mean, it is based on her history, too. That was the case in her Senate office. That was the case in her primary campaign. But, these little staff things, it's about the person. It's not about the staff and whether they have a hard job and they don't like it. Is she doing a good job? And this is where Joe Biden picked her. So if they don't like the job she's doing, the fault lies with Joe Biden. I do think she's not done a good job as vice president. I think the way she's handled things really raises questions about whether she's ready for this job, whether she is serious enough. And she seems to just wing it. And you can't wing it either as a senator or as a vice president, and certainly not as a president. That's what she seems to be doing.
I remember watching the Zoom early in Joe Biden's presidency, and he had all these employees on the wall, and he says if anybody mistreats anybody, he would personally fire them. So if there is any truth to any of this, it will be interesting to see how the President of the United States handles it. Ari Fleischer, thank you. A blessed 4th to you and your family.
Thank you. Happy July 4th.